Alright, the longest running feud in WWE going today. I know that Brock Lesnar and John Cena have been going at each other, honestly, since before SummerSlam. But it seems like we've seen the Usos going up against Miz and Damien Mizdow for the last year and a half. This is the feud that will never end. I know I was surprised as you were when Miz and Mizdow had their WWE championships taken from them on an edition of Monday Night Raw to end 2014. It was not the best way for Miz and Mizdow to end out the year. Jimmy and Jay, you could say that they were moving on and becoming the new force in tag team wrestling. I know that they held the titles for a long time last year. I believe they were the champions, that they won them on Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania against the New Age Outlaws and held them through Mania and through a lot of the other battles along the way. I know they beat the Wyatts. They beat a few other teams along the way. Nothing really was jumping out as being spectacular, but the Usos kept on having good matches in and out. Just none of the feuds were really grabbing a hold of me, and this one started off in a good way. I mean, like, at the end of the day, I really would have had like a little bit of a sick feeling in my stomach if Naomi would have turned on her husband and joined up with Miz and Mizdow. But honestly, at the same time, I think I would have been cheering the whole time as well, thinking that was one of the most coolest things I've ever done. I knew that at the time when I thought it might happen, I was like, well, it might be good now, but WWE's going to drop the ball once they need Naomi to go back and be married to her husband again. And storyline, it'd almost be like, Stephanie and Triple H, where I guess it was just, they had the feud in 2002, and then when it was needed, and later, I can't remember when that was, with they really came out and just blatantly said on television that these two were married. That was 2008 or 2009, somewhere around there, but there was nothing to ever really tie them together. I know there was like one little short segment, I think it was on a pay-per-view, where Vince was talking to Stephanie, and then Triple H came into the room and Vince sort of like stepped out. I can't even remember what pay-per-view that was on. I can just remember it was sort of like a tongue-in-cheek thing of like these two that were married on television finally seeing each other and being in the same room for the same time. But I knew that when the day would come for Naomi, and I can't remember if she's married to Jimmy or Jay, honestly. But once they needed them to be back together, it just would have been some stupid thing. Well, yeah, none of that really mattered. They're just back together. But it would have been really cool if Miz really could have convinced Naomi to turn on the Usos for them to win their tag match at the pay-per-view. I think that was at TLC. And she was watching the monitor. She just never really came out to help the deal. I know it looked like at TLC that the Usos were going to win the titles, but they were able to have the double disqualification when people started swinging around the Slammy Awards, which I'm finally glad that the Usos aren't bringing down. It was just sort of a way to sort of get them over to end the year. They brought them out like on the Raw Christmas. They brought them out on the Tribute for the Troops. Finally, around the start of the new year, they started leaving those things in the locker room, or maybe they took them home over the Christmas break and put them up on their mantles. In this match, I'm hoping it's going to be a short one. I think this is the one that's going to put the nail in the coffin for Miz and Mizdow. I think this is where they're going to have their breakup. I recently went to a WWE house show in Sacramento. That was, I can't remember when that was. Last weekend, the weekend before last. It was on a Saturday. I can remember that. But they had this match on the show, and Mizdow really was, stepping out of the Miz's shadow. He was playing second fiddle to Miz, but there was at times, he was acknowledging the crowd was behind him, and when Miz would have his back turned, Mizdow would go out of his way to get the pop, and he was trying to get himself over. In the end, the Usos, they got the victory. But I think that's the way it's going to go. Hopefully, we'll see what Mizdow can do on his own. I've always liked Damien Sandow. I thought he's had a lot of talent. I didn't really understand the gimmick that he had before, proclaiming that he was smarter than everybody else, that he was the dude. But, he won the Money in the Bank. He wasn't able to cash in on that Monday Night Raw. And ever since then, his career's really been down. But being the stunt double to Miz, he's really been able to pump some life into it. Who knows if Mizdow is going to be able to reclaim being like an Intercontinental or United States champion and be a good force in the mid-card or even higher. Or if he's just going to be that guy that's sort of like R-Truth, who hangs around near the bottom, who just got lucky and found a spot to be there. I like Sandow a lot. I'm hoping that he can get up there. Miz is another guy that needs to get out of this thing. He had a good run with the tag championships, but he's definitely a guy that should be in a higher mid-card working towards finding a spot in the main event. 2010 was a long time ago, so was WrestleMania 27. Here we are going into WrestleMania 31, and this is the guy that's going to be nowhere near the main event again. I think he is long-term for WWE, being in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal or wherever you will find him for WrestleMania isn't a career killer, but they need to basically sit down at the table and work out some sort of a plan to see where he's going and how he's going to get there. Lots of guys in the upcoming year are going to be breaking into that main event with Seth Rollins, with Dean Ambrose, with Roman Reigns, Bray Wyatt, lots of guys down there in NXT. I'd hate to see The Miz get lost in the shuffle, but I'm picking the Usos to get the win and continue on with the tag team titles from here.